On the back straightaway, into turn number 3, thick thin, still 3 wide, Brandon Feeney, high, wide, and handsome. He's going to go to the outside and get past the demo.
I don't mean to be two birds and bees with you folks, but this is how cautions are born.
All right, welcome to episode number 62 of the Feeney podcast. Tonight's guest is going to be Thayne Hallyburton on the Ontario Outlaw Super Late Models. Got to witness his first heat win this year over at Peterborough Speedway. Actually, as being a photographer, and it's actually really cool to capture those moments when someone gets the pinnacle of their career and capturing some success moments and stuff like that. Little recap: we had a couple tracks finishing up after we had our last recording. Yeah, so and then this weekend, well, not even weekend, Thursday, I should have actually done a prequel to it just wasn't thought of when we recorded on Tuesday to do stuff for Thursday because the episode releases on Friday because my brain doesn't work like that. But ran the Orno Fair Demo Cross. For those who don't know me, my motorsports career started in demolition derby and demo cross and figure eight and all that stuff before I got into racing on asphalt. And so my boss gets us a car or two every year for Orno, and we ended up winning the heat, going through the heat to the A main, winning the A main, and then going into the free for all and winning that too, which probably the most successful day I've had almost in any motorsports, to be honest with you. But it felt really cool to check off the hometown win for the first time. Last year we won the free for all, and that was it. But this year we actually won the A main, which is the big prize, the big trophy. So that's pretty cool to have the hometown trophy and stuff like that. So thanks to everyone that popped by. I think 90% of you guys listen to the podcast that were there. The other 10, they're not going to hear this anyway. But yeah, it was awesome. Victoria did a great job painting the car. Impact did a great job running the fence. Like we had like 50 cars on Thursday when they were supposed to only have 36, but Impact wasn't turning anyone away. But then we worked with Impact on Sunday. And yeah, we literally had an even bigger show. Once again, only supposed to be like 36 cars, and we had like I think 60 or close to 60. Which makes me think about demo. So derbies and racing, the car count struggle because time, money, everything like that. Demo cross is a super easy build. If you want to try demolition derby, I suggest trying demo cross first. It is any two-wheel drive vehicle up to I think a 2500 series truck. Obviously, rules change year to year, but like you can build the car in like 3 hours. You gut the interior. You don't even have to gut all the interior like you would a derby car. I suggest gutting as much as possible. Remove the airbags, obviously is mandatory. Sun visors, side windows, rear windows. You can leave the windshield in, but if it gets muddy, you ain't seeing anything. But yeah, but I think I had maybe into both vibes I built maybe 10 hours. And sorry, hopefully nobody yawns according to that, but yeah, we had a great time. Buddy I built a car for had a great time. Didn't do as well as I did, but he was out there just having fun for his first time doing the demo cross. And yeah, if you want to try motorsports out, if you're racing plan on racing, I suggest, maybe messaging Chris Lawrence at PT Racing, maybe getting into practice day and bone stock. Or if you're building your own car, I suggest starting bone stock and stuff first. But if you're planning on the demo world, demo cross kind of gets you used to building, going through tech inspection, gets you the process. Plus, at the same time, the hits aren't nearly as bad in demo cross because you almost know where they're coming from. Like, you're going to get hit going over a jump or, oh yeah, demo cross has jumps and spray for anyone that doesn't know. It's also, if you see my intro, you'll see the demo cross from last year. I might cut some new stuff in for 2025 with the limited schedule of the podcast. I probably make a new intro and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm not going to talk my ear off too bad because I want you guys to hear what Thayne has to say because he drives one of the baddest cars on the planet in the Outlaw Superplane model. Those are the cars I first ever seen at a live in track was Outlaw Superplates with Rudy Oppersma. And honestly, the things I would do to drive one would be sketchy at best. They're my ultimate favorite car, and I honestly wish I had the money to just drive one time, or at least race one time. And just unfortunately, will never come to fruition. But uh, who knows? Maybe somebody will be dumb enough to need points one day and be like, "Hey, you look like dumb enough to drive a super late model. You try it." But yeah, two cars that I'm all hot for right now is they lost super lates and these sprint cars. And the faster the sprint car, the better. That's just where I'm at right now in life. But sorry, once again, hopefully nobody else because of that. But let's bring on Thayne Hallyburton and hope you enjoy the interview. And if not, let's get ready to, as the tracks are closing down their championships. Let's make sure you pack the tracks the last couple months here. Get to your playoff races. Support the drivers with merchandise and stuff like that. And make sure to give us a like and follow on social media. I got my photography page up and going now and stuff like that. So this way we can keep following what's going on in the racing world. Uh, in Canada, it's a long off season, but if you follow like Stickers and Scoffs and True North Racing podcast and stuff like that, then we get you through it. So without further ado, here comes Thayne Hallyburton. All right, welcome to this week's episode of the Feeney Call podcast. We have Thayne Hallyburton from the Outlaw Super Late Models. How's it going today?
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me on, man. It's going good. It's weather's starting to get cool. It means it's playoff season, but it also means summer's gone, so that sucks. What do you do?
It also means that Super Late's going to really start eating with that engine.
That's fair. Yeah, she starts to get real healthy this time of year.
So, where's the ideal temperature for like horsepower to like rip on those cars?
Yeah, honestly, man, like track temp, like probably around 22-ish and air temperature like around 18-ish. Be kind of perfect.
So 20-degree day, that car's eat.
That'd be perfect. Yeah, exactly. A little cooler than that. The track can't really hold it as good, but
So obviously I met you when you were driving late models.
yeah.
You were driving Thunder cars or super stocks. What other experience do you have on your way up to the super lates?
Man, I did it the old fashioned way. I started with the I guess it's called the pure stocks at the time at Barry Speedway, but it's now the mini stock division. In a disheveled, clapped out Ford Mustang. Did that for 3 years. Then I moved to the what's called the next generation Thunder car at the time, which kind of became the super stocks. And then my brother got my Mustang, and then kind of after 3 years of that, I moved to the late model. My brother got the Thunder car, and we kind of just did that kind of hopscotch. But yeah, I really feel like kind of went right from the bottom to the top now, so it's pretty cool.
So I've honestly super lates are my favorite class. When you guys popped by Peterborough, it was great seeing you get your first heat win in those cars.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like a big moment for you this year, like finally getting into a heat win, or is it like you're still fighting to be a little stronger in the features at the end?
Yeah, the biggest accomplishment this year, like definitely the Heat win was cool, but just running better. Like in practice, we're practicing in the top five now, and we can't make the car go very good off the hit. Like qualifying, our brand new tires were not really great, but around 10 laps in, we start to really move forward. So the program's getting better. Just trying to find a little bit. I mean, JR and Glenn and now the five car are pretty far ahead as far as technology and horsepower and that go. But I think we can make this thing go. It's not a crazy old car. It's a 2014 Hamkey with some updates and stuff. So I feel like it can compete. It was good enough for Donnie Wilson, the Snowball Derby, so it should be good enough for me, anyways.
So, what kind of power plant you got in that thing, or is it a secret?
Yeah, no, it's just the standard US super late model spec motor. So it's a Hamner 383. It's got, really good heads on it, but it's nothing crazy. It makes stock like from Hamner on the super late model trim in the States, it makes about 650. We can put more carburetor to it, so and a little better transmission. We have like the direct drive Burt transmission. We're probably making a little bit more, but definitely not in the 800-900 range like some of these guys that we saw at Flamborough. But enough. I think 700 probably comfortably before we have to tune that down too some races. So it's definitely enough for most of the tracks around here.
Yeah, horsepower versus traction is always the biggest because our surface get weathered like almost like you see the old Atlanta and stuff like that, where you see guys you can have all the horsepower in the world, but if you can't put it on the track, just burn a rear tire out for no good reason.
Yeah, it's everything, man. Like, you'll some guys in our class are bolted on 390s. Some guys have that Weir's carb spacer that has the restrictors in it that you can change restrictor sizes out. So there's lots of different ways to skin the cat, but a lot of our guys are detuning after qualifying.
So, how long you been racing? Like, when was the first year of you racing, and then like how long did you spend in each class? Like, I think you said 3 years of Mustang, but like I know you were in late models for quite a bit, bouncing between Sauble, Barry until they closed, Sunset.
Yeah, I started in 2006 in the pure stock class at Barry. With no idea what we were doing, and you know, just my dad was a mechanic, and we could make things run, but we had no idea how to go fast. And then we kind of had a right from the get go. We had a 3 year plan, 3 years in the pure stock, 3 years in the Thunder car, then to late model. We followed that through for 6 years. In 2013 or 2012, sorry, we got in the late model. And then I was in that car until its untimely demise in 2021. So yeah, I guess that'd be 8 years.
So obviously in the late models, you got to race against your brother. I think that
Yeah.
might have been for one of the first times. So I always love racing against my brother, my dad, and stuff like that. What was it like for you two to race against? Because you guys have always worked pretty closely together.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, Travis has kind of always gotten my cars, the drag racing language lined out. Like they were ready to rip when he kind of got in them. I would, you know, me and my dad would learn when I was driving them. We finally get them pretty good, and then Travis would hop in and be pretty fast. So Travis' first year against me was 2014. And he had my old car from Barry Speedway. I built a new Port City car that year. So it really wasn't on the same level. The next year he bought Baker's Port City car, which was I believe, 2013 at the time. So we had some new stuff too. We both had kind of the same stuff, and then really we just went racing against each other. And he usually had my number points wise, um, by one or two positions. Like he finished third, I finished fifth. He finished fourth, I finished fifth, sixth, something like that. Basically every year he's a really good driver. But win wise, I think over that time span, I actually had more wins than him by one. So I'll hold that over his head for a bit. But yeah, it was great. Like we had one time, like I think 2015 or 16, where we didn't talk for 6 weeks. It was late race restart. We are both on the front row, and we gave it to each other pretty good, and I beat him. But our parents weren't happy, our crews weren't happy, and we weren't happy with each other. We really did everything short of destroy both cars. So that was the one time there was a bit of a hiccup. Beyond that, it was all pretty smooth sailing.
But I feel like if you didn't have that hiccup, you didn't know where the line was where you guys could still be friends and brothers and competitors at the same time.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's you know, no matter what, like when there was a crash when we're on the track, each other would ask the spotter or look around. Was it Thayne? Was it Travis involved? Like we always looked out for each other. Um, we you know we always let each other in if we could, in line, and both cars are same budgets, same shop. Ray was setting both cars up, so um, there's no point to race each other super hard. Is race everybody else hard. So yeah, we really got along other than that. But you're right, like we both knew we didn't want to do that again. So
So, like I told you off air, we're going to ask your fan questions kind of early today so my phone
yeah,
doesn't die halfway through and I don't miss them. So Ashley McMartin from Lakeside Mobile Tire wants to know, what is your biggest accomplishment both on and off the track? And what was your biggest oh crap moment?
yeah. So biggest accomplishment was probably my double feature, my double 50s mid-season feature wins at Barrie. It was July 6th, I think, 2013. Started at the back in both races, beyond 10th, and won both of them. And I mean, we had like a 12 car count, which isn't crazy, but like there's some really good drivers, like Al Ingles and Gord Shepard and Leonard Johnson and Sean Murray or Johnny Gaunt, depending on what time of the year it was. I think by then it was Johnny Gaunt. Um, Ian Bork, like some legit guys. Ronnie Quinnell. So like I won 10 features that year, and like that double feature win was by far my best night in the race car.
And then what about off track?
Yeah, probably just autumn colors when Travis won. I was so proud. Like 2015, I think it was like his second year with that car. That was the second in 3 years time that car won autumn colors. So that was pretty cool. But um, that was I was so proud of him. He did an amazing job that day. Travis kind of is a little bit. He drives out of his hood pins a little bit. Like he's aggressive. He's nowhere near as aggressive now as he was back then. But that race, man, he just hung out. Uh, you know, Traded positions so he could restart on the bottom really smartly. And then was there at the end when the checkered flag flew. So I was so super proud of him that night for sure.
And then the final part of that question, what was the biggest oh crap moment you've had?
Yeah, I've had a couple. I was airborne off of Tommy 2015. I think it was in the middle of the summer. It was like late July. Wrote the car off, but by far my throttle hung the last time in my car at Sunset Speedway, 2001. Uh, no way to slow it down heading for the wall. It was pretty bad, and that would hurt. That would hurt the head, hurt the pocketbook, hurt everything. So that was a bad one.
It's worse when it hurts the pocketbook because the rest of you hurts more when you can't get back in the car the next week.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's the whole reason I ended up in a super late. That car was irreparable. So
So we have a little bit of a jokester here in Gary McLean
yeah,
asking how much fun are the super lates to drive. And he says against hacks like himself, but the guy's won more features than I've won heat races in my life.
Gary loves to give himself a hard time in a joking way, but he knows what he is. He's a bad dude. So it's a bad night in a super late is better than a great night in any other vehicle I've ever driven. Yeah, they're so much fun. The power, the the way they handle, like they're so agile, so like, and they're just mean. Like even sitting there idling, they're just bumping you around. Like, um, there's no bad nights. You might be frustrated because the car's not turning good, but it's still so much fun to drive. But racing Gary, I wish I could do more of it. Me and Gary seem to be, my dad was having health problems. I couldn't race. And then now Gary's having health problems, so we can't race. Looking really forward to next year. We can both get at it together again.
So we have Cameron McGlash.
McGlash.
Ask, yeah, I think so. I'm not good with pronouncing names, which is horrible for a podcaster and slash announcer. But
Ah,
um, if you could go back to any year in your career and run it again, which year would it be?
I've actually had this conversation with my brother before, just hanging out in the shop after working on the cars, because even with like you talk about back in the day, you always say year like 2014 or 2015 or whatever, but um there's no question I would turn it back to 2015. I know I had all that success in 2013, but 2015, it was 32 cars every night at Sunset Speedway. There was 18 to 20 cars that could win. Uh, just making the invert was like a feat. You're driving your butt off. Like you're sitting on the back stretch in practice. You see who's on the track and who's in front of you, and it was crazy. The stands were absolutely jammed every night. Like a year-end crowd every night as soon as the summer hit and all year. That year was like it was so much fun. There was so much competition. We had a fantastic teams. We had Junior and Ray working on the cars, and we had the Reynolds clan with us, like in full form, and it was so much fun, and it was so competitive. Um, I would, you don't realize that the good days are happening until the good days are gone by, and that was the good days.
So, and the last one we have here from the fan questions is from Jeremy James here.
Yeah.
Asked how bad you would love to take that super late model around the Barrie Speedway.
Uh, my heart. I love Barrie Speedway. That track, the way you had to drive one and two to be good was so different from anywhere else that we have right now. It was so smooth. I would love the chance to hit turn four right and put the right rear in the groove off of Fort Barry and let it sing and see how it would feel, because it would be happening so fast there. Um, Man, I miss that place. It had so much character. Um, yeah, I guess that's kind of, if you could like have a dream scenario, it's that place with the super for sure. I'm envious of these guys that got to do that back in the day.
See, for me, there's two places. If I had a super late model, there's two places I would love to have driven it. One is Jukasa, especially with the repave and how smooth it looked from the videos. I actually haven't got to race that place. I'm hoping it opens back up and I'll have to find something or rent something just so I can go around it.
Yeah.
The other one would be like the number one place I'd love to go back to because it's my actual all-time favorite track, and that is Kawartha.
Oh yeah.
Super Lates at Kawartha always seemed to be a good show. They were able to open these things up. They could run 2 to 3 out wide, and you'd see all the fast cars show up every single time.
Yeah, like Jukasa, I had a couple races there in my late model, my limited late. It was awesome, but I'll tell you, like holding the throttle into three and just eating the chip like 20 times, driving right down in the middle, three and four was cool.
Mode.
But that track you're kind of stuck like glue. It was so
No
new.
battery. Recharge.
Like I would say it definitely was a challenge, but it wasn't super hard. Um, Whereas like Kawartha was definitely cool. The only thing I had at Kawartha, I believe, was I had a Thunder car and a 4-cylinder there. The Thunder car I went back in 2010. There was like a Stefco McCall series. It was like a 5-track series. It was really cool. I think it was Peterborough, Sunset, Barrie, Sauble, and Kawartha. Um, I ran the Thunder car there, and we got there late. Cause it was a Friday show and my family and we were working at the shop. And we get there. Of course, my battery's dead in the car because I forgot to charge it. So we miss our heat. So we have to go out for the consi. I drive from 12th to second in the consi, make the show. This back when you had to make shows. It's a crazy thing. And that was the Kyle Donaldson era of kicking everyone's ass. But we drove from 26th to 4th that night at Kawartha, and that was so much fun. It was so hot that day too. I remember I had to take my foot out, or I got out of the race cars. Last time I raced in tennis shoes. Took my foot out of my shoe and jammed it in the cooler. It was so hot. And I got race shoes for the next race, but Corth would be cool. It's so fast, like you said, um, and it's nice and wide, but then it's like off the corner, it's not. It goes like wide to like not so wide. Just as far as a groove goes, that place is pretty cool. I mean, we were really blessed back then to have so many tracks that had so much character and were so different. Like, living in Peterborough, you had Peterborough Speedway and Kawartha, which were two complete opposites. What a treat. And then Mosport down the road, which is again totally different from those two. Um, and what was that, like half an hour down the road? So that would have been
Yeah.
the place to be back in the 90s, that's for sure.
I literally live like 5 minutes from Mosport or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park,
Yeah,
and Peterborough Speedway and Kawartha are both 25 minutes with the trailer behind me.
there you go.
Like there was times that you could probably, if they're both racing on Saturday, you could probably miss the show and make it up to Peterborough and try to make that one.
Yeah. Well, I think there was guys who used to do that. They used to like run a class early, run a class late so they could bounce. Really cool. Like that. That's the stuff I like. This that kind of stuff back in the day. Like when you can, I think some dirt guys probably still have that, but it was cool back then if you lived in that area for sure. I think Peterborough is such a hammer down racetrack. Like you're on the gas so much, you set the nose into three, and then you're just right back to it, driving off the right rear tire. And then Kawartha is so wide, and you can kind of drive it two different ways, and you're kind of trying to keep momentum up there, but you're not so much using the gas as letting the car roll. And then you go to Mosport, and it was drag race, stop, turn, drag race. So totally different things, that'd be super cool to be able to do that. If that was like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that would be really cool.
I think it was for a while that there was
Yeah, it
Friday,
was.
Saturday, Sunday. And could you imagine going back, like you're talking about taking your car around Barrie Speedway and stuff like that? Could you
Yeah.
imagine if we got the tracks back where you had like a series of super lates at, Mosport, Kawartha, Jukasa, Delaware? Like imagine the speed you could get in these cars, like, and the amount of stuff you could actually get to do with them.
Yeah. That's the tough part now. Like, I think we're starting to get a bit of momentum, but like it's tough for those tracks to like for Delaware to book us. I know we got rained out there this year, but like it's tough. Like when you're talking a Friday night, there's maybe 8 to 10 cars coming. It's hard for tracks to go all in on us. But I think we have some momentum. We have some new cars in the area now that are joining the series, and hopefully get a couple guys back like Scott Beatty and Gary, and maybe Chenoweth a little bit more often. I see his pro lace for sale, but it'll be nice to kind of build up the class to where you go to a racetrack, you have 14 or 15 of us all the time. But yeah, I mean, it would be cool to have like, we're not always on short tracks, right? You got those four big behemoths where you could really go and let the things eat. But man, it's so much has changed. It's hard to ever see a future of that happening.
Well, another thing you mentioned with Delaware is like because the Friday night, which Friday night is an issue, especially with Delaware being for most teams quite a haul away, right? Unless you live
Yeah.
down the London area. Um, you could even think maybe that they can include you in like one of the Saturday shows they do or something like that when they have one of the other touring series or something like that when they're having, or like the Great Canadian Week, and have you coming in booked in with that too, right?
That would be
Because
by far the best option because, like, their home tracks, the guys are committed to Friday nights, 8, 10 times a year, and they have the schedule figured out. But like for us, a lot of our help is working. And then, there's a lot of cars that live in the Barrie area, and that drive is awful and on a Friday afternoon. And then, a lot of guys don't want to work all day and then get home at 4 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, finding a way to have a Saturdays would by far be the preferred option. But I mean, it's not easy for promoters either to try and figure out their schedules. So like, I don't blame anybody in that situation.
so if you got to race your super late in the States against some of the guys, like what track would you want to take it to, like if you had to cross the border?
Yeah, well, I was just at Berlin watching the Money in the Bank. So I stood right there at the entrance to turn one, and It's so fast, man. It's so fast. That got me going. But what a Wasso's doing in Michigan for the Super Late models is the Outlaw Super Late models is phenomenal. And I'd love to just go be a part of it and support what they have going on. But the one track that kind of makes me go, huh? Flat Rock Speedway looks super cool on video, and they run supers every Friday night. Be nice to find a way on vacation to go see what that's about. But that track looks really cool. It looks kind of like sunsetty with a little mixture of Sobble. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be right up your wheelhouse. Sobble
Yeah,
Sunset mixture.
I got some laps around that place, so I think it'd be kind of the right thing for what I need.
Yeah, even making if you have like you're talking about vacation, maybe even making a pop up to Laird to their weekly super late division.
Man, I wish like that. Problem with that weekend every year, it's when the middle of my hockey team starts up and we have exhibition and practice and we're cutting kids and I really just it's the worst weekend possible for me. But
Yeah, but they run weekly, don't they?
yeah, they do. They won Thursday nights and that crowd apparently. I was talking to Mike Hardy about it and he said it's just jammed, like 3,500 people every Thursday.
Yeah, you might have to take a Thursday, Friday off and just do some traveling.
Yeah, that might be the plan.
Yeah, I'm
That'd be
pretty
cool.
sure if you message Laird, they'll gladly have Thayne Hallyburton up there in a super late.
Yeah, and I'll say it, man. When they have that big race coming, they message and email and text, and they work hard to promote that race, which is really cool to see. A lot of guys aren't doing that anymore. They just assume guys are going to show up, so they do it right up there for sure.
I feel like there's a few tracks that still understand that racers and the tracks have to work together.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not gonna, and as I said, and there's a couple tracks that are like, you can't do this without us. So you either show up or you don't. And unfortunately, that's not a good attitude for either side. But
yeah,
when you work together, that's when you can have. If drivers want to be at a track and track wants the drivers to be there, that's when you have drivers bringing everyone they have with them. You get all the social media promotion and stuff like that, which it benefits everyone at that point, right? So it's just we got to find the sweet spot where everybody's kind of happy and we're not all losing our butts and
yeah. Like for us, I know of a lot of guys that I race with. The contentious part of what we do is our payouts because, we're $1,200 for a set of tires, worth $200-300 in fuel every weekend. We're $1,500 out, and we're guaranteed $600 to show up and race. So, um, you know, that's a Caribbean vacation every weekend that we go racing. And it's we sign up for it obviously, but I know that's kept some guys on the porch this year and last year. That might come out more, but it's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Like before they offer more money, they want more cars in a better show, and to get more cars in a better show, it takes more money, and it's just like what's gonna pop first, right? But hopefully we can kind of figure out whether it be through sponsor money, like Crow's Gas Bar gave us a bunch of money this year at Peterborough. It was fantastic. I mean, I finished fourth and got $1,100 and almost paid for my night, and I mean that goes a long way to getting us back out. Flamborough Speedway's big race. I think it was like 1,500 for 12th. Like that's awesome. That pays for your night and then some. So more of that for our class would be phenomenal. Just I just think it's impossible to have a tire rule with our class, I think. So I don't know how to get the cost down other than bring payouts up, which I don't know. Hopefully we can find some way to do it through sponsorship or something. Because our class, there's a lot of cars that have one race here, one race there. They pop in and pop out. Like we've had one showing of Charlie Gallant this year, and like three or four of Todd Campbell and Chris Burrows showed up once. And it'd be nice to have it where everyone could come all the time. And I think a lot of it has to do with the money. But that's life, man. Everybody needs money.
yeah, if it wasn't about the money, we would all be racing super lates.
Right, exactly. And it's, I will say this, like it's if you're running a pro late model and you're like, man, that sounds fun, it's not a whole lot more. It's probably a cheaper car to build. I built my entire car for $28,000, ground up, didn't have a bolt. I got a motor at a great price, a transmission at a great price. I took my time and sourced But I'd love to see the kind of pro late model you can get in for 28 grand.
I can tell you what you can get into for a limited late model for I think it was $5,500.
Yeah.
But actually, doesn't Glenn Watson have like a roller for sale for like
Yeah. 15,
stupid
I think he's got
reasonable?
wants 15,000 for it or something, or 12.5 or something. And it's like a 6-year-old McCall car rolling. It's got the active rear suspension, I believe, and he's got a set of shocks you can buy for it for a pretty good price too. So I think, hopefully a couple guys look at that as an option for next year. It's pro late model racing is definitely more serious. Like when we show up the track, a lot of us have a good time and we take it seriously when we're working on the car and stuff. But you know, I like to think most of us are pretty friendly. We're in the pro late model stuff. That's really not the case, and everyone's there doing their own thing. So it has more of a club mentality and a club feel to it. And then you're racing the baddest cars on the planet. So it's fun and it's enjoyable.
But see, when you go racing, the whole reason we do it because we're not making a career of it up here. None of us are Dale Earnhardt Jr. Like you're supposed to go to the track, have a good time with your friends, like enjoy being there. And I think that's actually another reason we've lost a bunch of drivers, especially after COVID, was they realized there's stuff outside of racing that's just as fun they can do with their families, their friends. And it's like, and it's one of those things like, if the track isn't fun, then why are we doing it? And it's like,
Yeah.
we got to figure out how to bring the fun back to all the classes. It's not even so much like, because you know as well as I do, you start points racing, it gets very stressful.
It does, yeah.
But like, if all of a sudden you're like, I'm driving whatever the hell my steering wheel attaches to this week, and we're going to see what that, it's the best year of your life.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, a lot of that too, Brandon, is just simple. Like is it fun working on the car 4 nights a week? Like when COVID happened and guys did other things, it's not so much that the Saturday wasn't fun, it was just the grind and the hours put in just didn't equal the same enjoyment they got out of, hopping in their boat on a Saturday and not working on it all week to go for a drive, right? Like it's just different. You have to really love it for sure. And there's some guys that we race with or whatever, that don't do it themselves. But I think for the majority, I think guys still do. And um, 15, 20 years ago, guys worked hard on their cars, but like just being able to go to your garage and do your alignments and set your Ackerman and your toe and your bum steer and having your rear end aligned properly was enough to go win races, and a lot of them. And that's just not the case anymore. So I think that has a little more to do with it than people want to talk about.
so as we talk about that, I'm going to bring up, there's one guy I'd love to see race a super late model at Peterborough. I'm going to get your opinion of who you'd like to see maybe as a one-off in the division. Like, but I'd love to see like old school Dan McCaddy in a super late, see what he could do. Because after the showing he put on the APC field, like a house built car, and it's not like it was a McCall or it's a Dan McCaddy car with
Yep.
Dan McCaddy shocks. Like I'd love to see what a guy like that could do with super lates, because I know there's still a rule book, but like you can take some of the well, there's a little bit of one.
It's one page.
Safety gear.
Safety gear, the motor has to be steel block and no wide bores and no traction control, no doping. That's about it.
Yeah. All the ideas that you could actually add onto like Dan McCaddy's brain, or like a John Baker Jr. Imagine if they could just take all the ideas they've learned in racing up to this point and apply it to a super late. It would just be entertaining from a fan's perspective.
I mean, Dan could race a shopping cart around there and be fast. Like it really don't seem to matter with him. Like he's such a dual threat. Like he understands the cars better than almost anybody. Plus he's like one of the best drivers we have. So it's a pretty lethal combination. Um I think I'd love to see Kyle Gordon get in the car too. Like Kyle's becoming a pretty good little driver. So and Marley's fantastic to race with when she runs with us. So there's lots of guys. Like it's I think some guys are gonna give our class consideration instead of moving to late models from that class. because the costs are kind of similar, and the cars are so much more fun, man. Like it's like that freight train, like crate engine racing. It ain't the deal. Like come outlaw racing, it's you'll realize it's way better.
Yeah, when you can actually throttle past somebody down the straightaway,
Yeah.
it's a whole and that's and I think super stock is why I kind of enjoyed it because you had that different power level. Like if you're in it, I always had the crates because I couldn't afford a belt and I didn't know what I was doing to build a proper one myself. So
Yeah.
um it was kind of entertaining from a driver's perspective to know that you can make your crate car corner faster than a built and actually out drag them down the straightaway because of power and weight difference and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and that crate motor has a shit ton of torque too, like an absolute crap ton of torque. So those 602 crate motors are like for what they are, like they are a cast piston pile of crap, honestly. And they're like really good. So it was a great motor at the time. I remember my first 602 in 2013 I bought was $3,200. So in 11 years they've gone up to what is it, 10,000 now, 8,000, something like that. So
I've
it's
never bought a new one.
it's getting crazy. Hey, back then, what's you would if it was $3,200, wouldn't
No, I'd still be cheap and buy a used one.
you? Fair
Okay.
enough.
So my first crate engine I got off Mike Nelson out of his OSS car for $1,500.
Hmm.
Dressed, pulleys, gears, everything. And then after that, I just kept buying ones with the car, and I've been lucky, touch wood, that I haven't blown an engine, had to change one between seasons because like I've never had a backup engine or backup plan. I've just always just bought another car.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best motor we've ever bought 602 wise was out of a dirt sportsman. They have like a rule where they got to run 6,000 RPM soft touches, and the motors just seem to, I guess it broke in perfectly. I don't know, but that's the motor that set the track record in the late model for Travis at Sunset. That motor, it
Well,
was used.
the Chevy handbook says do not rev these 602s over 5,800 RPM.
Yeah, let me tell you, son. Back in the day at Sunset, we were hitting 68, so definitely.
I've heard stories of people have them at 74.
Yeah, I mean, we were never there, but we had McGonagall's back then, and we were pounding them off the chip at 68 into 3 at Sunset, and we lost both of them that year. That's probably why.
Yeah, I can't imagine why we need to have a chip rule.
Yeah,
Anyway, I know you said we didn't have much time tonight, especially with me having computer issues and stuff like that.
it's all
So
good.
I'm going to give you a few moments before we ramble on 6,000 hours and stuff like that, and just almost have like a pit talk, like we almost always do, to thank your sponsors that you have for your super late, and also where we can find you on social media, and if you have any merchandise available.
Yeah, well, so sponsor wise, man, my brother in the family business Hillsdale Service Center, and then you know our Visa cards, man. Like that's about it. Um, I had a couple when I first got started, but that's kind of what we're down to now. And it's not doable, but it's tough. And you know, basically, man, like we run a really tight budget with both of our programs. People probably laugh at that, but we do. But the cars always get what they need. But yeah, like that's basically it for our sponsorship. I know I gotta thank Ryan Semple, obviously, and Semple Spray Foam Solutions and Highway 400 Transmission for helping Travis out this year. Um, and that's mainly it for that. As far as merch goes, yeah, I mean you can get my stuff or my brother's stuff off of the Bailey's website there, onepromo.ca. And the driver portal, you can go on there and grab our stuff. And I gotta say, man, like appreciate you doing this. This is a cool thing. I know you're shutting it down after this fall, but you did a great job with it, and it's a really cool thing.
Well, I'm not fully shutting it down. I'm just gonna narrow it down to probably like one a month instead of
Yeah,
weekly, because I do want to get back into racing,
yeah,
which with doing the media with Jomo Media and stuff like that and the photography, I need to have a couple days planned out where I work on the car. I'm like,
right.
I looked at finances. I'm like, the photography equipment's paid for itself this year. with being able to sell a couple photos here and there, and then like the Jomo Media, it's I'm not losing any money doing it. Like I go to the tracks anyway, so I get I'm writing stories basically about friends and stuff like that, and how they're doing, and I'm improving myself. Plus, at the same time, the people that hired me for this year, they're kind of enjoying the improvement level and stuff like that I'm doing. Because like the first couple weeks, it was kind of like I don't want to push any buttons. Now I'm kind of getting more comfortable, and like I can throw a couple like I had what was it, Clayton Reed a couple weeks ago that his mom attended the racetrack the first ever time. So I got to throw like making his mom proud as a joke in there, and well, not even
Yeah.
really a joke, but like I can kind of call him a mama's boy and stuff like that. And he was good with it, and it's you find that groove, right? But yeah, once the modified sells and I have the money for it, I've already been talking to a few mini stock owners because I think I can't drop down to bone stock at Peterborough by rules, but
Yeah.
honestly, driving that Neon, I don't think I ever should have sold it. It was probably one of the most fun cars I've ever driven in my life. And it's just because I love a car that challenges me as a driver. I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah.
It's fun to know if you make a mistake, the car will punish you, and then being successful with the same car.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's that's one of the greatest things about racing is you can go on the racetrack, bring it back in, you know, do some crazy math. What should I do to make it better? Try something, go right back out, and the car's changed. Good or bad, it's cool that like what you just directly did can go and be directly felt on the racetrack. Um, that's kind of one of my favorite things about it. The last race of Flamborough, I'm trying to get used to get to know this car. Like I've had it for 3 years, but I haven't raced a lot with my dad's stuff the last couple of years. So this year I've really been in it pretty consistently. And I came in, I told Rod, I'm like, we need to drop the left rear panhard bar. And we put it down 3/4 of an inch, went back out, and the thing was like 2/10 better. And that was like really cool. It was like the feeling of that is not like very few things do that. Very rewarding.
Yeah. And you say that on the other end of the spectrum is you have the car and it's stupid fast. You literally just set your pressures, keep everything the same. You go out and it's just a dog in the next practice or qualifying. It's like we didn't touch anything. We didn't even change tires. It's just the track's rubbered up differently or got some more heat in it. It's honestly the most fun is chasing the track, and I love being able to chase the track in the middle of a race. So
Yeah,
like I don't mean like going in the pits and making an adjustment. I love the feeling of all
change your
right.
entry up.
Well, especially like how Peterborough is,
Yeah,
as well as I do. If you change your entry in 1 and 2, you can change that whole corner and
yeah,
make it a pain for anyone to get around you at least. But anyway, the last thing I'm going to ask you before I let you
yeah,
go to bed, is I talked to you off air about is the weather chasing and stuff like that.
yeah.
I kind of am interested in this because I want to know how it started. I'm going to assume it had to do with racing because wanting to know what was going on. But like, how did you get into weather chasing and like all the storm predictions and stuff like that? And what keeps you going on?
So I've loved the weather since I had a brain to think about things. Like it's always mesmerized me. Like um, I was never like in a tornado or had that life-changing experience. Obviously, living where I do, we've had some like monster snowfalls, which are really cool, but I just grew up loving the weather. But like when I was in high school and stuff, there was no like I had no real way to understand how that could turn into a career. And I loved journalism as well. So I obviously picked to go that direction, but I've always loved the weather. I self-taught early, attended Cam Warren seminars, became a Cam Warren certified spotter through Environment Canada, and then started chasing and got to meet like really cool guys in Ontario that are weather nerds like me, and that some of the guys work at Global for the Weather Network, and some of those guys are now really big wigs doing expeditions and stuff like George Coronis. So, but I've been involved since a very young age. My first chase was 2004 snow squalls. First tornado was 2010. And I've had three since then. But just my love for weather has kind of always been there. Somewhat self-taught. Obviously, the Cam Warren seminars and that was big. And I did an online course and got a certificate, um, which means jack squat, but it taught me kind of how to read weather maps. And a lot of guys when it's race day go on the weathernetwork.com and do the advanced radar, and they go, radar says it's gonna be rain at 6 o'clock. Well, all that is taking where the rain is now, applying the storm motion, and fast forwarding it the amount of hours, that how fast it's going and what it looks like. So I hate to tell everybody, but that really has no bearing on what's going to happen. But yeah, like it really just kind of started from a curiosity and a love of it at a young age, and then learning it, and now it's kind of an obsession, I guess. Like every day I go on and check the weather maps, check the Euro, the GFS, the NAM, the HRR, the RAP, like all that, and figure out what the weather's going to be like, and if there's anything to watch out for. This hurricane that's about to hit Louisiana tomorrow. I've had my eye on it for about a week and a half, coming across the Atlantic from the prevailing winds in Africa. I just think that's the coolest thing ever. Like, this little thing was a piece of hot air a week and a half ago, coming off the coast of Africa, and now it's gonna be a hurricane in Louisiana. I just think that's really freaking cool. So I guess I'm a nerd. Everyone knows I'm a nerd now, but that's it's always mesmerized me, and it still does. And the craziest part is it's unpredictable. No matter how much we know about it, you really can't predict it. Like I feel like I can tell you if a day or two out if it's going to rain, or if I still don't understand why tracks don't call me to find out what they should be expecting. But um, that part is fairly secure. But like next week, everything we know about the weather, everything that we've learned, all the data we have, we still don't know what's going to happen next Tuesday. So that's pretty cool.
You should make bets with tracks. If they call you and you're right, you get free entry next week.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good track record, so they probably don't want to do that. But I mean, it's if you know how to read the weather maps, it's like it's not that hard to figure out. But the crazy part about where we live is we have a lot of they're called boundaries, and it's just basically like wind off the lakes. So you have Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Lake Huron, and it's like a box, and the winds come off each lake differently, and they set up boundaries, and storms fire and die on the boundaries, and you can't read them. You have to, like, that morning or that afternoon, check the wind fields and the wind directions and see where the boundaries are. And like it's hard to predict what's going to happen, like tomorrow, with pop-up showers and pop-up thunderstorms, because we don't know what the boundaries are going to do. And the fact that it's 2024 and we don't know what the boundaries are going to do is, again, really freaking cool. So Mother Nature is pretty wild, and I don't know. I think it's important to keep learning, and this is kind of the thing I'm going to continue learning for the rest of my life.
So I got kind of a joking question for you.
Yeah.
Which do you think we'll figure out? We'll have a like perfect tracking system for weather, or they'll put starters on sprint cars? Which do you think happens first?
Yeah, definitely, perfect tracking weather, because there's nothing better than the sprint car push truck races to get to the best car. I mean, I remember being last weekend and seeing 8 push trucks trying to get to Tony Stewart. Freaking hilarious.
So I can't remember what the race was called. I was talking with Dan Price.
Yeah.
There's a race down the States during, I think, Indy 500 weekend, where they have like a 300 lap sprint car race
Little
on
500.
Yeah. So you've heard of it.
Oh
Where
yeah.
they're doing live pit stops
Yeah.
and pushing them off on the apron while they're racing.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like a velodrome. It's like the Olympic velodrome bicycle races.
at which point do you just put a starter in, though? Is it illegal to have a starter in a sprint car?
I just think, like, the way that those things are set up, there's no flywheel, right? There's straight gimbal connect. So I don't know if there's a spot you could ever put one. I guess the only real way to do it is to push them.
Once again, though, we're in 2024. There's got to be a way to. Someone's thinking of something to make this work.
I'd agree. I would put money on the 57 team and Kyle Larson's crew chief to figure it out first, though.
Because like I'm actually thinking not even so much doing it off the flywheel, but I wonder if you could start it off the rear end.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like, there's even a chance you could start it like with like some sort of secondary ignition system. I don't know. Like, it's pretty wild, like what you could do, but I, I would assume maybe just this is what's the old guy way of doing it. I like it. This is the way it's always been. Don't change it. Get off my lawn.
Pretty much. Or when Chris Lawrence wins, get off my fence.
That's right. Same thing.
But anyway, I thank you for joining me. Can't wait to see you guys race again. As
Yeah, man.
one day I'm going to see sprint cars and super late models on the same track at the same time in Ontario. Because I honestly think we need to have somewhere an asphalt sprint car race.
I think Ryan Litt would probably agree with you on that one.
So if anyone's going to happen, it's going to be Glenn Stiers. He's going to arrange
Oh.
it somehow.
And we both know it's going to be at Flamborough.
Yeah. Could you imagine if it was at Jacasa?
That'd be cool. Hey, we need him to buy that place first, don't we?
Or just rent it.
Fair enough.
But
I've heard so many stories about that situation that I mean that what's going on there must be something else, man. I'll tell you. But hopefully it gets sorted out. We can get that place back.
yeah, it's honestly it's like Kawartha. It's like you hear so many stories, and it's like as long as the track's surface is there, there's a chance.
Yeah, and all the rumors of all the stuff being pulled out of there. I drove past it like 2 months ago. It's still right all there.
So, all right. So once again, thank you for joining us.
Cool.
Good luck. When's your next race coming up? I think it's
Yeah,
soon, isn't it?
Velocity next weekend, Saturday only at Velocity, and then October 5th, Saturday only at Oktoberfest. Unfortunately, we're not at Fall Colors. I would love for that to change. I love Peterborough and I love that event, but maybe next year.
Well, maybe we can talk to like maybe Chris Lawrence at BT Racing about slamming you in a bone stock for colors.
Oh, they'd have to really slam me in there to get me in that thing.
I mean, he has a seat that fits Jomo, so like,
Oh yeah,
like I feel like if anyone's gonna like, I think it'd be fun just to fall colors in a bone stock for something you haven't raced like since the start of your career.
yeah.
So
It'd be a
maybe
good
we'll
time.
sweet talk Chris, and you guys are gonna be at the track at the same time during break Frosttoberfest.
Yeah.
I remember back when there was Oktoberfest and Frostfest before it was like all separated.
Well, because they ended up both getting rained out every year.
Well, and the thing is, so you had Oktoberfest, which was the week before Colors,
Yeah.
and Frostfest was the week after Colors, and Frostfest normally got snowed out.
Dude, there was a Frost Fest that ran in November one year, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's wild.
and honestly, and that's what I think the biggest dynamic that helped that event was them combining, and then it no longer competing with Colors
Yeah, I
because
agree.
Colors is its own entity, and it's a giant party with racing breaking out.
Yeah, like the amount of guys that go with race cars, they say, I'm not bringing the race car, I just want to party for the weekend. It's pretty wild.
I've got
But
to drive cars because people were too drunk.
I remember the good old days, man, where there was 70 mini stocks and 55 Thunder cars and 35 late models, limited late models, and I don't know. I wish we could find a way to get back to that because that was cool.
When I win the lottery, there'll be signs.
Attaboy.
All right. Have a good night, brother.
Thanks, Brandon.